Every car manufacturer has its golden child, the model that does more for it than any other. For BMW, it's the 3 Series. For Volkswagen, it's the Golf. And for Renault, it's the Clio. So special is the Clio to Renault that they've flown us all the way to Italy to drive the car on its launch here in Tuscany. And I'll start by telling you that there's something more shocking than the car's yellow paint job. You've no doubt been aware of the scaling back of engine capacities to meet environmental regulations and to appease a market that's more aware than ever that the resources we have won't last for very long if manufacturers keep churning out petrol-hungry cars. Renault haven't just listened to those concerns, they've taken a giant and somewhat risky step into the future by planting a 3-cylinder 900cc turbo motor into the Clio 4, a motor for an everyday car that started life in the rarefied atmosphere of F1. We're at Viry-Châtillon, where Renault designs and manufactures engines for their Formula One team and their customer teams. It's hard to believe that the technology that comes out of here, technology designed for the pinnacle of motorsport, has got anything to do with your common or garden variety Renault. But it does. And we decided to find out how it got there.
Many engineers that have worked on this engine come from the Formula One, including myself actually. And we share simulation tools, design methods, and we also use some technical features, and especially low friction coating that comes from the Formula One and that we apply to the valve tappets in order to, of course, reduce the friction and therefore the fuel economy. This engine has 135 Newton-meter of torque, which is much more than what a naturally aspirated engine would do. So with the turbo, in fact, you improve both fuel economy and torque, and therefore drivability.
All of which may sound very impressive coming from an F1 engineer with a French accent, but the bottom line is no matter how technically clever it may be, it'd still be good on an everyday basis. And here it is, a tiny turbo petrol with 67 kilowatts and 135 newton meters. It'll get by on just 4.3 litres of fuel per 100 kilometers and spew out just 99 grams of CO2 per kilometer. Now, I can already hear you RS fans wailing and gnashing your teeth. Don't worry, there will be an RS version of this car, and it won't have this motor. The RS will be fitted with a bigger turbo motor and a dual-clutch gearbox, but it's still over a year away. The regular Clio, including this TCE version we're driving, will arrive in South Africa early next year, and I reckon they're going to need to be pretty clever when it comes to the sales pitch. Renault are going to have a fun time convincing cylinder-happy South Africans that a 900cc 3-cylinder is a good idea, but in truth, you really don't lose anything. Besides the extra cylinder, of course. In terms of power delivery and availability, it's very similar to a normal 1400. Being a small engine, it's a lot more efficient, and if none of that convinces you, well, on top of that, you get the marvelous 3-cylinder soundtrack that is remarkably similar to a flat 6. It didn't take too long behind the wheel of the new Clio to become a believer in Renault's engine wizardry. It may lose out in most of the top trumps categories, but this small lump of a motor still manages to deliver. If you like the look of our test car, don't get too excited. It's got some extra bits like a steering wheel cover and an air vent surround that are part of one of 3 theme packs that Renault South Africa aren't sure they're bringing to the local launch. As for the rest, it's all full of Renault's clean designs and attention to detail, although it is let down a bit by some very hard plastics. It's got some useful tech, and what you see here is just the beginning. The Clio concentrates very much on the whims of its driver, so to that end it's included technologies like bass reflex to improve its sound system. It's not a new idea, but it's the first time it's been featured in a car in this segment. Also not a new idea, but one that's becoming more and more prevalent, is customization. The new Clio has been designed to suit as many personalities as possible, although not at the same time, thankfully. The door panels, dashboard trim, gear shift surround and steering wheel inlay can be finished in a range of colors. Also something to look forward to in the near future is the R-Link system. Based on what Renault call an in-car tablet, but is actually an 18cm touchscreen, the system will feature apps that add to the everyday commute. And it won't just be a pre-programmed bunch of apps either, because the company plans to develop an app store where third-party software will be available for download. So far on our drive, we've covered a decent mountain route and found that the Clio's small engine isn't by any means a weakness. It's got a decent interior too, but there's still a lot more to discover about this new French model.